Coming up on 5 Minute News. Joint Chiefs of Staff warn of horrific destruction if Russia invades Ukraine. January 6 committee subpoenas fake Trump electors. And East Coast prepares for blizzard conditions. It's Saturday, January 29. I'm Anthony Davis. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Army General Mark Milley, has said that if Russia unleashes the forces it has amassed near Ukraine's border to invade its neighbour, the outcome would be horrific and result in significant casualties, comparing this moment to the Cold War. Milley made the comments amid fragile Russia-US diplomacy in a broader East-West standoff over Ukraine. Moscow has demanded NATO pull back troops and weapons from Eastern Europe and bar Ukraine from ever joining the military alliance. Washington and its NATO allies reject that position, but say they are ready to discuss other topics, such as arms control and confidence-building measures that would convince Russia to pull back its troops from near Ukraine's border. Speaking at a Pentagon news conference, Milley said that given the type of forces Russia has arrayed, all of it packaged together, if that was unleashed on Ukraine, it would be significant and would result in a significant amount of casualties. Speaking alongside Milley, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that while the United States does not believe Russian President Vladimir Putin has made a decision whether to invade, he now has the military capability to do so. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday did not rule out a full-blown war with Russia, but said Ukraine was not a sinking Titanic and accused Washington and the media of fueling panic that weighed on the economy while there are no tanks in the streets. He spoke after the Russian President Vladimir Putin said the United States and NATO had not addressed the Kremlin's main security demands in the East-West standoff over Ukraine, but that Moscow was ready to keep talking. The January 6 Select Committee investigating the Capitol attack issued subpoenas on Friday to lead participants in an audacious scheme to send fake Trump slates of electors to Congress. The development comes as the panel seeks to learn whether the plan was coordinated by the Trump White House. The fake certificates, which falsely declared Donald Trump the winner of the 2020 election, though the states had officially declared otherwise, are significant as they appear to have been the central tenet of the former president's effort to return himself to power. The fake slates of electors were sent to Congress from 7 contested states that were in fact won by Joe Biden. Trump and his allies might have hoped to use them as justification for having Biden's wins in those states rejected. Congressman Benny Thompson, the chairman of the Select Committee, said that he had authorized subpoenas to 14 Republicans who were listed as the chairperson and the secretary of each group of alternate electors in order to learn how the scheme was coordinated. Thompson issued subpoenas to the 2 most senior Republicans who signed onto the fake certificates in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, New Mexico, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, including several prominent current and former state Republican Party leaders. Trump's planned coup to return himself to office rested on 2 elements: the existence or possible existence of alternate slates, and then Vice President Mike Pence using the ambiguity of dueling states for Trump and Biden to reject those results at Biden's certification. The effort to subvert the results of the 2020 election at the joint session of Congress on 6th of January fell apart after Pence refused to abuse his ceremonial role to certify the results, and it was clear the alternate slates were not legitimate certificates. But in some cases, top officials, such as 2 Republican National Committee members and former state GOP chairs, signed the fake certificates that used official state seals and sent them to the National Archives. The panel is seeking to examine whether the effort was coordinated by the Trump White House and whether it amounted to a crime. Shoppers cleared grocery shelves and raided snowblower dealers on Friday along the US East Coast ahead of a storm expected to drop heavy, fast-falling snow on some of the nation's biggest metro areas, including Philadelphia, New York, and Boston. Officials from Virginia to Massachusetts rushed to declare snow emergencies, impose parking bans, and restrict travel in advance of wet snow anticipated to fall as fast as 5 inches per hour. The storm threatened blizzard conditions, high winds and coastal flooding in some areas, along with punishing cold behind it that could leave many people shivering amid power outages. Airlines cancelled hundreds of flights in advance. New England regional supermarket giant Stop & Shop pleaded with customers to practice restraint, warning that staffing and supply woes caused by the coronavirus pandemic will mean barer shelves and longer checkout lines. Airlines cancelled about 1,300 US flights on Friday and more than 3,100 today. More than 90% of the schedules at Boston's Logan Airport and New York's LaGuardia were scrubbed. Amtrak cancelled or limited weekend train service along its busy corridor from Washington to Boston. Snow began falling last night in parts of Appalachia and was expected to start later in the Carolinas. Officials warned of whiteout conditions, the common refrain from New York Governor Kathy Hochul and other state executives: just stay off the roads. You can subscribe to 5-Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5-Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5-Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.